Alright everyone, I wanted to do this really quick video that's probably not going to end up being very quick after all. Now, a lot of you are always asking for collection videos. Well, I decided, hey, let's do an NES collection video. I'm going to go over some of the video games that I have in my NES collection. Now, I'm not going to go over all of them, but I am going to, kind of go over some of the highlights, my favorite ones, some of the ones I don't like, and maybe some of the rarer and expensive ones that I have. Now, keep in mind, this is not going to be, any fancy editing. I'm not going to want to spend a lot of time editing this video, so it's going to be more vlog-like, if you will. And that's because, I got to edit Game Chaser episodes, and I don't want to take any time from that if I don't have to. So with that in mind, let's take a look.
Now, I have all my NES games alphabetized. I mean, really, is there any other way to do it? However, right here, my black box games, the original games that came out on the NES, I keep them separate because I think they kind of look cool. They all have that same style. Now, this particular game I got turned around for a reason, because if you saw the label, it'd be a spoiler for the Season 3 of Game Chasers. Yep. Now, this one right here, Devil World, this never came out in North America. It only came out in Japan and in Europe. I guess Nintendo of America thought it was a little too religious for North American audience. They had that strict policy with that. Now this one is PAL. It was given to me by someone on Facebook. His name is Andreas. Became good friends, since starting the show, and he wanted to send this to me, and it's not very common at all up there, so really appreciate that. It does work on my North American NES system. I have played it. Now this right here is my boxed factory sealed, actually, Gremlins 2. One of my favorite games on the system. Let's get that out of the way so we can see what we got here. Alright, so starting with the numbers, of course. We got 1942 and 1943, really good shoot 'em ups for the NES. A Boy and His Blob. I love this game. It was one of my favorites to rent back in the day, but unless you have a Nintendo Power or some kind of map, yeah, it gets pretty difficult. Let's see here, Adventure Island series, classics. Alien 3, it's okay. I really prefer the Super Nintendo version a lot more. Now this game, I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong. It's, Astanayaxa. This is a really underrated game. Not a lot of people know about it. Some people, I guess with the internet now, a lot of people know about it than they did, but it's really good. If you've never played it, check it out. Batman, that's a classic. Obviously, I don't really need to say much about Batman. Battletoads was the bane of my childhood. This game infuriated me more than any other. I just couldn't get past the speeder bike stage, and when I did, I'd immediately die on the next stage. It was just so freaking difficult. Of course, we have the Battletoads Double Dragon that I picked up in Roswell and caught Eric slipping. I got it looking really good. Bionic Commando, I've never really got into the game. I know a lot of people enjoy it and say it's one of their favorite games on the system, but I've never been too huge on it. I'm not saying it's a bad game. Bomberman 2, that's not an easy one to find, and for a decent price anyway. Bubble Bobble, one of my favorite games on the system. I really love the Atari ST version. Burger Time, I love Burger Time as well, especially the Intellivision version, because I grew up playing that game. And here we got a boxed Mega Man 6, and my friend Dave sent us a bunch of stuff. This was one of the prized games in it, as far as I'm concerned, because now I have all the Mega Man games, but I don't have them all boxed. I only have 3 boxed, but I'm trying to get them all boxed because I'm a fan of the series. And then this box is in really, 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 really good condition. So thanks, Dave, for sending that. That was really cool of you. Alright, we got the Castlevania series. I don't really need to say much about those. Contra, I can almost do a no-death run in Contra. The farthest I've gotten was the final boss, and one of the stupid facehuggers, killed me. Of course, Contra Force. You guys saw Jay give me this game, and it's not a great game. It's not a Contra game, first of all, but it's well, I hate this game. I mean, I hate this game. I hate it. So we got Darkwing Duck. That's a classic. Let's see, Deja Vu. I'm not really a fan of those style of games. Dick Tracy's a crap fest. I'm not gonna say that. It's okay. Donkey Kong Classics. You know, what more can you say about that? Dirty Harry is not a very good game in my opinion. Double Dragon series, awesome series. My personal favorite beat 'em up on the NES. I know a lot of people prefer River City Ransom. I love this one. A lot of nostalgia with that one for me. Dr. Mario Classic, of course. Dragon Warrior series. I'm not big on the series at all, honestly, but you know, if you're a collector, you know, you still gotta look out for them. DuckTales. One of my favorites by far. Probably in my top 5 of NES games. I don't know, maybe. Definitely top 10 though. DuckTales 2, kind of more of the same, just not as good as the first one. And this one is really hard to find and quite expensive. And Felix the Cat, this game right here is not very common and it's definitely trending upwards. So if you see it for a couple of bucks, definitely pick it up. And of course we got Cheetah Man. The Lost Levels. That if I wanted could open this up and play the game all the way through, just like it was meant to be. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, it's the infamous Flintstones game that Jay's probably stopped watching or hit the dislike button at this point. Final Fantasy, you gotta have the original Final Fantasy in any sort of NES collection. Fire and Ice, uncommon game. You know, it's pretty fun too, actually. We got Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. Ghosts and Goblins, extremely hard game. G.I. Joe 2, The Atlantis Factor, very underrated games on the NES in my opinion. Definitely check them out. Godzilla, I think Godzilla gets a bad rap in my opinion. I really like the game. I enjoy it tremendously, actually. Yeah, it's got its flaws, but man, you know, 80% of the games on this shelf are worse than this in my opinion. Godzilla 2, now that's a stink fest. I don't like that game at all, but it is really rare, and just to have it in the collection is an accomplishment. Gremlins 2, a favorite of mine, a top 10 game, you know, and you know, if you want to see a really good review on that, check out Eric, 8-Bit Eric has a review on that one. And moving along, Gunsmoke, Heavy Barrel. Heavy Barrel, I like Heavy Barrel a lot. The Ikari Warrior series, they're fun. For me, they're fun for about 15 minutes, and then they get really pretty old pretty quick. Move the Cheetah Man out of the way. Jaws, I think it's a bad rap too. I like it. It's kind of like... It's almost harkens back to the Atari days, where it's a really simple game, simple premise. It's easy to play. You pick it up, play it. I think it's a lot of fun. It's almost soothing in a way. You just kind of float around in the water and shoot sharks. I enjoy it. Jetsons is a pretty unknown platformer for the NES. Really kind of rare too. I like it. Definitely, you know, if you see it sitting around somewhere, check it out and get it, you know, if you can. Jungle Book, one of the last NES games ever released. Journey to Silius, very underrated game. Let's see here, Kirby's Adventure. I've never been a huge Kirby fan. You know, I mean, not like you know, Bionic Commando. I'm not saying the games are bad at all. It's just, you know, sometimes, you know, games just don't resonate with you, and I think that was the case with Kirby. Skipped over Kid Icarus. That's definitely a classic on the NES. Legendary Wings is a really cool shooter. And see, I really don't need to say much about Zelda. Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid. I know Eric's gonna like this because he agrees with me on this. This is another underrated game in my opinion. Now you can blow through this in probably about 20 minutes. Speed run it in 10 maybe. But don't let the name, you know, Little Mermaid and all the Disney stuff, don't let it fool you. I mean, Capcom, you know, they did it right with DuckTales and Chip and Dale. They did it right with Little Mermaid too. Low G Man, you know, Lance does a really good review on that on RetroWare. Maniac Mansion, I'm not even sure if this is the one where you can blow up the hamster in the microwave or not. I've just never really been a huge fan of the game. Mega Man 1 through 6. You know, a lot of people only like Mega Man 2 and 3. I like all of them. I think each one of them offers something unique and make them worth playing. Metroid, you gotta have both label variants if you're a collector. Now, I didn't like this game much when I was a kid because it was like being a rat in a maze. It was, and I didn't like those type of games. I always liked linear games from point A to point B. Metal Storm. This is definitely one of my favorites on the system. Check it out, and it's trending upwards. So, you know, get it if you see it for a really good price. Ninja Gaiden Trilogy. Very hard, but very fun too. North and South, not a game that I've ever really gotten into. I know Rue likes it. He really likes the game. Power Blade, an underrated gem. Definitely play Power Blade. Power Blade 2 is, I like it not as much as the first one, but it's definitely a good game on the NES. It's really rare too, like really rare. I got this while back before we started the show, so and that was when it was like not as expensive as it is now. You know, really don't need to say much about Punch-Out either. You know. Rescue Rangers, absolute classic game, and I am, you know, as you see, missing Rescue Rangers 2, so if any of you actually happen to have Rescue Rangers 2 that I could borrow, I'll give it back. Maybe. RoboCop 2! I got this for my birthday once, and it was I actually have a lot of nostalgia for the game. It's actually pretty decent. The Rocketeer, that's a game that a lot of people haven't ever played or checked out before. It's flown under the radar. I recommend it. All right, we got some gems here with Shatterhand. You know, I know I'm saying this a lot. That's an underrated game that flew under the radar. Not a lot of people play this, but it's kind of my duty when making a video like this. You know, you got to point out the games that a lot of people may have never played before. And, you know, you all know the classics. You know the Marios, you know the Ninja Gaidens and the Double Dragons. You know, and I'm kind of skipping through all those, but, you know, I'm doing some fan service here. Play Shatterhand. It's a good game. Let's see. Bart Simpson versus the Space Mutants. This is not a very good game, but I do have a lot of nostalgia for it. And for that reason, I still pop it in from time to time. And I honestly think it's not as bad as some people make it out to be, quite honestly. Smash TV, play the Super Nintendo version one. That's all I gotta say on that. You know, we all seen the, well, I guess that's kind of presumptuous. Maybe you've seen the Star Wars Gameplay and Go episode we did, but I enjoy these two games right here. Star Tropics Classic. Alright, let's go down to the bottom shelf. And of course, you know, as a collector, you gotta have all the Mario variants. You know. Superman, not a good game. Tailspin, halfway decent. Tecmo Super Bowl, Tecmo Bowl. Absolute classic football games. If you're gonna play any football game on the NES, make it one of those. To the Terminator. Terminator 2. I hated this game as a kid because I could not get past that part where you're driving on the motorcycle. I don't even know what it's called. It's not the sewers, but the drainage, whatever. And then you have to go shoot the gates open. I hated that. I could never hit the gates. That's the problem. Tiles of Fate. Three Stooges. Underrated game. And we all know how I feel about, you know, the Ninja Turtle series, so I don't really need to say much about that. Tom and Jerry. Pretty uncommon. Let's see, Toxic Crusaders, very bad game in my opinion. Xenophobe, obvious alien ripoff and a terrible game. And of course we got Yoshi's Cookie, which is a pretty cool little puzzle game. And I think I'll end it on the very last NES game ever released, Wario Woods, which is really a cool puzzle game in its own right. So, there you have it. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, listen, if you want to see more of these vlog, you know, collection videos or whatever, just put in the bottom. Like, what do you want to see? Do you want to see Super Nintendo, N64, whatever? Do you want me to go over in more depth some of the rarer, more expensive things that I have, some of my favorite ones? J2, do you want to see some of his suggestions, comments, all that good stuff below here? We'll try to make it happen. So, take care, everyone.
and Game Chasers are on the way.